What if planting roses got you a $400 fine? What if it led to police destroying your garden? In Arizona, Frank Miller faced an HOA nightmare, but he fought back with determination. Stay tuned for a story of gardening passion, injustice, and a beautiful twist of justice. In the dry suburb of Cactus Ridge, Arizona, the desert sun blazed overhead. The scent of creosote bushes filled the air. Here, 82-year-old Frank Miller had lived for years. He was a retired botanist with a love for flowers. Frank had bought his $260,000 Adobe-style home in 1990. It was a quiet sanctuary for his gardening. Dreams. On the warm morning of September 18, 2027, Frank tended to his front yard. He had planted a row of rose bushes a month ago. Their petals bloomed in vibrant reds and pinks. The leaves rustled softly in the breeze. The faint scent of roses drifted through the air. Cactus Ridge was governed by a strict homeowners association. It was led by 57-year-old President Nancy Gordon, a former landscaper. Nancy enforced rules with a rigid hand. She saw the neighborhood as a minimalist desert retreat. No colorful plants, no exceptions. And certainly no roses that could disrupt the natural aesthetic. The HOA bylaws were strict. No unapproved plants allowed, they stated. A $400 fine per violation. Nancy applied this rule without mercy. She believed only native plants belonged in the desert. That morning, she drove through the neighborhood in her SUV. The engine hummed softly. She spotted Frank's rose bushes in his yard. They were a clear violation in her eyes. Nancy's face tightened. She adjusted her visor. "Roses in my community?" she muttered. "Those plants are coming out today." She pulled out her phone. Her fingers dialed the local police. The call connected with a faint beep. At 9:30 a.m., Frank pruned his roses with care. The snip of his shears was a gentle sound. The petals glowed in the sunlight. Suddenly, the sharp wail of police sirens broke the morning calm. Frank turned. His boots scuffed the dry soil. A police cruiser pulled up to his house. Its tires kicked up dust. Red and blue lights flashed in the desert sun. 2 officers stepped out. Their boots crunched on the gravel. The lead officer, 44-year-old Steve Larson, approached Frank. "Sir, we've had a complaint about unapproved plants," Officer Larson said. His voice was firm. It cut through the rustle of the leaves. Frank's brow furrowed. He leaned on his cane. "A complaint? These are my roses. They're in my yard," he said. His voice was soft but steady. His words carried through the dry air. Nancy had followed in her SUV. She stepped out with a stern expression. She held a fine notice in her hand. Her sunglasses reflected the sun. "Your roses violate HOA rules. They don't belong here," she declared. Her tone was sharp. "That's a $400 fine and we're removing them." Frank's eyes widened. He gripped his cane tighter. "This is my property. They bring me joy," he countered. His words overlapped with the sound of Nancy tearing the fine notice from her pad. The paper ripped with a harsh sound. Officer Larson wasn't moved. He was known in Cactus Ridge for enforcing HOA complaints. "If you don't comply, I'll have to take further action," he snapped. His tone was cold. He called for a landscaping crew. A truck arrived with shovels. The crew began to uproot the rose bushes. The sound of digging filled the air. The roots snapped as they were pulled from the ground. The petals scattered on the dirt. Frank watched in disbelief. His heart ached. The roses lay in a pile. Their scent faded in the heat. "You can't do this," Frank said. His voice trembled with emotion. Officer Larson turned to him. He unhooked his handcuffs from his belt. The metal clinked ominously. "Sir, step back, or you'll be arrested," he warned. His voice was low. Frank took a deep breath. He steadied himself with his cane. His voice grew stronger. "I won't let you destroy my garden," he said. His tone was resolute. He reached into his pocket. The rustle of fabric broke. The tense silence. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling my lawyer, he said. His voice carried determination. The phone rang twice. His lawyer answered. Officer Larson paused. He signalled the crew to stop. The shovels fell silent. Nancy's eyes narrowed. Her fine notice trembled in her hand. The paper crinkled as her confidence wavered. A lawyer? She muttered. Her voice was uneasy. She realised this might not be simple. Larson spoke into his radio. The static crackled with his message. Dispatch, we may have a situation. Stand by, he said. His voice was cautious. Neighbours began to gather. They stood at the edge of their yards. Their murmurs grew louder. They watched the scene unfold. The creosote bushes swayed in the breeze. Some nodded in support of Frank. They admired his roses too. Frank explained the situation to his lawyer. His voice was steady on the phone. They're destroying my rose bushes, he said. I planted them for beauty. His lawyer promised to help. He advised Frank to stay calm. Frank ended the call. He turned to Larson and Nancy. You'll hear from my lawyer, he said. His tone was firm. Larson nodded. His face showed uncertainty. We'll wait for further instructions, he said. His voice was softer. He and his partner stepped back. The crew left the roses on the ground. Nancy tried to argue. Her voice was shaky. The bylaws still apply, she said. Her tone was desperate. The paper crinkled louder as she turned to leave. The next day, Frank's lawyer filed a lawsuit against the HOA. He was an experienced attorney with a passion for justice. The rustle of legal documents filled his office. The lawsuit gained attention in Cactus Ridge. Neighbours rallied behind Frank. They shared stories of the HOA's overreach. The trial took place in a local courthouse. Residents packed the gallery. Their footsteps echoed on the floor. Frank's lawyer presented the case. The HOA's rule is unjust, he argued. His voice was steady. It violates property rights. The rustle of exhibits was loud as he handed them to the judge. Nancy and the HOA board struggled to defend their actions. Their lawyer's voice was shaky. He tried to justify the fine. The tension in the courtroom was thick. The judge delivered a swift verdict. His gavel slammed down with a resounding thud. The sound echoed through the room. The HOA's actions were baseless, he declared. His voice boomed. The HOA was ordered to pay Frank $6,000 in damages. The verdict was a clear win. It left Nancy visibly shaken. Her fine notice was now a worthless piece of paper. The residents of Cactus Ridge cheered. Their applause filled the courthouse. It was a celebration of Frank's victory. They thanked him for standing up. In the aftermath, the HOA rescinded its plant ban. Nancy stepped down in disgrace. Her resignation was announced at the next meeting. A new president took over. The community's freedom was restored. Residents could now garden without fear. Frank replanted his roses. The soil crunched as he set them back in the ground. The petals bloomed again in vibrant colours. The scent of roses returned to his yard. Cactus Ridge became a symbol of gardening rights. Frank stood in his yard. He smiled at his blooming roses. A sense of justice warmed him in the Arizona sun, and so a row of rose bushes became a battle for justice in Cactus Ridge, Arizona. Frank Miller turned the tables on an overzealous HOA. How would you fight for your gardening passion? What do you think? Should HOAs control your yard? Share your thoughts. Join us next time for another tale of justice. Until then, keep standing up for what's right. Thank you for listening.